feeling the spine straightening. Here I'm just trying to get my arms as straight as possible. And then just bring the arms out to the side. And then just a few twisting. And then just turn one hand to face down. And just tip. bringing the hands in. And now rowing. So just really reaching forwards. And then just pull the elbows right back, like you're trying to meet your elbows behind your back. Let's stand up. Okay, let's start with breathing. I breathe in, I expand my insides to suck air in, arching my back. And then I squeeze everything out by emptying, closing, just reducing the volume. We're working with a volume differential. So here I increase the volume of my lung capacity. That brings the air in, and then I reduce that volume. And then let's just pause. Feeling the equilibrium. Feeling myself being pulled down. So my sacrum is hanging heavily. That has a sense of stretching the spine. Like my spine is a thread of elastic, and the heavy sacrum just keeps it taut. Now let's just try the circuit. Down the spine, splitting at the sacrum. what we're looking for all the time is the quality of elastic, like something stretched. So the same way that my spine feels that it's suspended from the ceiling and the sacrum is stretching it out. The same way with my movements. So you see a lot of sports people do it, especially ones that work not so quickly. So with a body that needs to be evenly slow, they will work with this pursed lip breathing. So they inhibit the in and the out breath by making a small hole. And that just creates like a tension along the breath, a long time, really. Let's just try the reverse breathing, because that's another way of getting into this elastic quality of time. As I bring my hands in, I'm going to breathe in on this phase now, rather, because normally I breathe in as I expand my chest, and then I breathe out as I deflate my chest. So that's working with the volume differential. Now I want to work with the pressure differential. So what I want to do now is get this set, so the hands are coming in like this. I also get the sense that my feet are pulling up towards my belly. I want that to be the same time that the breath is coming in. Everything is coming in. So I breathe in here. So the pressure inside really increases because everything is coming in. And then here, this is just exploding outwards. Everything is going out. So the pressure is just equalizing back to atmospheric pressure. And then here I breathe in and out. Breathing in, breathing out. So again, we make the small hole, so sucking in through a small hole. Then especially here, we have to really slow down the out breath because it just wants to explode out because the inner pressure has got so high. Breathing in, breathing out. And now the same thing, but breathing in up the legs and then breathing out down the legs. Again, I'm breathing in with through my mouth, but I'm also imagining that I'm sucking energy from the ground up to the dantian. And now I breathe out with my lungs and I let that energy flow back down. Back to riding horse. Sense of the spine being elastic. Or you can think of it as being like a long stretched coiled spring. Now I just want to move from leg to leg. But using the feet the way we've been doing. Lifting the heel to start the movement. So I straighten the leg and then I just lift the heel and that draws me. So this foot is drawing the energy from the full leg. So I lift this heel. I lift the heel and that starts the suction that draws my weight into the foot. So you're only allowed to have one heel on the ground at a time. So now my weight goes into this heel and this one instantly comes up. And then just back to riding horse. So when we work like that, bringing the heel up and pulling with the leg, we produce that elastic quality, but it also stimulates the spirit. You can feel it in riding horse. If I rock back into my heels, then there's a sense that I'm slowing down, I'm going into the ground. All of this lively activity is draining out of me. And then if I just rock onto the front of my foot and almost lift my heels up, then suddenly it's as though I come out of myself and I'm slightly in front of my body. And then when I rock back into the heels, I've gone into my back. I've rooted down. This has quietened down. And then if I come forwards into the toes again. So let's just try. This is called holding the golden urn, like you're holding something. You come off the heels at the same time. So the body starts to shake, partly because the balance is precarious, but also because the legs start hurting quite quickly. And then I just rock back into the heels. And then I have riding horse proper, which is rooting down. Sense that I'm drawing the world down, in and down through my body. Like this circuit's going all the time when we're in riding horse. And then again, I just rock onto the front of the foot. My elbows drop, my hands come up. And now I've got this circuit. Something is coming up my front and is issuing forth out of my body. And then rocking back onto the heels, one at a time. So I come round here, like I'm doing the two circle exercise. And then I come round this foot. And then again, just slipping forwards a little bit. dropping the elbows, and you just get this sense of like this fountain coming up your front. Keep the sacrum heavy. My heels are almost off the ground. And then just rocking back. So round this foot, settling into the heel. So here I really have that sense that I'm falling backwards. So my arms have to reach forwards to balance that. Now let's try this one. So here I'm lifting the heel as I come into the foot. Previously, I was lifting the heel in order to pull myself into the foot on this exercise we've just been doing. So that's slightly different. This one, I'm turning towards this corner. I'm coming into this foot, and at the same time, I'm lifting the heel. My spirit is associated with the front of the foot and my root with the heel. So I'm turning towards what's coming out of me here. I'm turning away from my root, which is this hand, this heel. This heel is on the ground, this heel is up. This exercise is all about working without a root, really, because even though this heel goes down, it doesn't go down very strongly. So I'm moving around this figure of 8, always on my toes. I just want to really work the legs. When you're working the legs from the front of the foot, it's very different than when you're working from your root, from the heel. Here, it's just constant movement. I'm always moving. Nothing is still. Feel the figure of 8. It's going around this foot. It's going around this foot. And now we want to feel the figure of 8 within each foot. So as I bring my heel off the ground here, I'm going around the front of the foot. And then as I bring the heel down, I'm going around the heel. I've got a complete figure of 8 in my right foot. So it's exactly the same exercise, but now I'm just seeing the complete figure of 8 within each foot. So it's easier to concentrate on the hand that's coming up on the foot that you're going around the toes of. And that, if you just concentrate on that, then you get a figure of 8 going around the toes like this. So this is what we started off with. But then if I concentrate on the heel, then it's this hand here. This hand is looping around this heel. And then as I come around the front of this foot, this hand is looping around this heel. So I have a figure of 8 going like this around the front of each foot, but I have a figure of 8 going like this, so the other way, around the heels. So this is what we want to just try and feel. So here my heel is, my weight is sort of going around like this. And then as this heel goes down like this. So if I concentrate on the heels, then I have this figure of 8, which is not the one we normally do. If I concentrate on the toes, then I have this figure of 8. So the toes are with the front hand and the heel is with the back hand. The back hand is trying to get behind because it's trying to go around this heel and come out here. So it wants to get to the min meng and issue out here. Just allow the back hand to go sort of slightly behind you. That's it. As the front hand comes up. Want this feeling that we're very much in the middle of these two figures of 8. When we just have this, the two circles going like this, let's just try this for a moment. then I very much get a sense that I'm behind it. I have these two circles going on in front of me, and my spine is actually behind it. So all the activity is in front of me. And now I'm going around this heel. So this hand slips behind, and then this hand slips behind. So now I get the sense that the activity is behind me. It's in the heel, low down. So it's sort of pushing me forwards a little bit. The activity is squeezing me forwards because there's so much going on behind me. So I'm going around the heel with this hand, and then I just touch the Ming Men, and it's as though something comes out here. We just want this sense that my whole body is writhing with activity. And it seems chaotic, but actually there is design there. And I have to just keep everything in balance so that it doesn't become too unstable. Bring it back. Yeah, so after that, riding horse is like a real relief, because I'm just coming back to stillness. I'm letting everything settle. So we don't want our stillness to become a deadness. I just want this feeling that everything is just full of movement, twists, turns. My weight is never in one place. It's always shifting. So this still posture is full of movement. Cease activity, return to stillness, and that stillness will be even more active. So there's a sense that I daren't root too strongly. And so when I settle into my heels, I'm not settling onto the ground. I'm penetrating through. Something is seeping through my feet and into the ground. Now let's just try this moving from leg to leg again by lifting the heel. I lift this heel and that sucks me forwards. So I lift the heel, the knee comes up. So I lift the heel by actually pulling my knee up. It's all knees really, the knees of the heart. My knee is active, my knee is wanting to dance. It's like when you see someone dancing, the part of their body that's most active is their knees. This is, when you start dancing, before the dance floor's warm, that's what's difficult, is to actually get your feet off the ground. So here it's my knee comes up. My knee comes up, and it almost comes up enough to take my whole foot off the ground. But I want to use that to actually draw myself out of the other leg. Active knees. This knee is flying up in the air, and that pulls me across. This knee comes up. And really let it tip you here. So just let the hips tip. There's a sense that it's the hip coming up, but I don't want the hip to come up more than the knee. It's really my knee, and then that draws me across. My knee comes up. So think of this knee coming up and this hip going down, and then you'll get it. Now let's just do something gentle. So just turning. So my hand that comes in front is with these toes, which are stretching, and they're then going to lift. That foot is pulling me round. Then as I come into the heel, into the root, this hand comes behind me and hits my Ming Men. There's the same activity in the foot. As I come into this heel comes off the ground, and that's what starts the pulling with that leg. think of the prowling tiger. Imagine the tiger just trying to walk as silently as possible. So it's like it puts its foot on the ground, but it daren't put too much weight in the heel, otherwise it may crack a stick and make a noise or whatever. So there's a sense that the tiger is walking on tiptoes. This is what we would like, the feeling that you're on tiptoes. You're trying to be as quiet, as unobtrusive as possible. So when your heel does go down, it's only really going down so that the other one can come up. Going into the foot in order to release the other one. Here we can feel the heel, the root. So the way we've been working with this sense of there always being this wriggly activity within every part of the body, especially the feet and the legs and the torso and the neck. That softens the root, if you like. And so when I come into the foot, I'm settling into the heel, but not as one hard thing settling against another hard thing. Not my stable body settling against this hard ground. But there's a sense that I'm trying to wriggle through things all the time. So the figure of 8 is a loop, a continuous, endless loop, but also it's a means to squeezing a flow. That's what I want to get into. And then the muscles around the bones really have to be able to work in this peristaltic way to send this ripple through my body. So I sink into the foot. It's very much the figure of 8 in the foot. So I put my toes down, I go around the toes. And now when I go into the heel, I settle into the heel last of all. And I go into the heel by going around like this. So I'm going around the toes and then I settle into the heel. And then this knee can come up. So in the same way that when I put the front of my foot down, there's a sense that I'm pulling at the ground. I'm going around the toes like this, and that's pulling the ground up into my instep. So it's like I'm gathering the foot and what it's touching into the instep as I put my weight in the front of the foot. And now as I settle into the heel, the same thing is happening. I'm going round the heel like this, and then as I sink down and bring my weight into the foot, it's as though my heel is coming under and coming up the instep like this. I'm going around the front of the foot and then around the heel, and my heel sucks up my instep. So I don't get a sense that I've settled on this hard surface. I've opened up the ground so that there can be this passage in both directions. And then here I have to come round the front of the foot. Now, when I go around the front of the foot, that requires spirit. So something in me has to open up, like grabbing something, as I need to become greedy, passionate in order to make a good go of grabbing that object. It's the same with my foot. My foot goes down, I grab with my toes, And then as I settle into the heel, I go around the heel like this. It's like I've got the same passion and intensity for grabbing that thing, but not with the front, with the back. I'm going around my toes. That grabs the ground beneath the ball of my foot. And then as I settle into the heel, that just really sucks me down and brings the ground up the inside of my leg and into my groin. It's just a figure of 8 in the foot, but I really want to feel the difference between the front of the figure of 8 or the top of the figure of 8 and the back. Feel the difference between the front of my foot and then my heel. So the front of my foot is relying on this ground having enough substance for me to catch it, to grab it and pull it. But then when I settle into the heel, I want all of that to simply melt so that I can have a sense of the ground coming up my leg and me going down into the ground. So there's a real change in the way I feel from the front of my foot, which is very much this sort of superficial desire, greed, avarice. I'm going around the front of the foot. Then when I settle into the heel, it's as though I just allow something to happen. But again, something in me has to open up. It's like a real darkness that I'm opening up. I'm opening up a channel into the ground. Remember when we were kids and you'd lift up rocks in the garden and there'd be a whole different world of creepy crawlies underneath that rock. It's like a bit like that here. So when I'm grabbing with the front of my foot, I know what I'm grabbing. I'm familiar with this world, which is why I can open up and become so desirous of it. But when I settle back into the heel, I've got no idea what I'm going to uncover. And so there's a real sobriety to the heel and the root. And now let's just try stepping with it, but slightly differently. Just step forwards with this foot. And now what I'm going to do is just come forwards and back a few times. But by lifting my heel, I'm going to bring myself forwards by lifting this heel. I'm going to bring myself back by lifting this heel. The lifting of the heel is the trigger that starts the movement into that foot. And then just bring the foot back And now step backwards. And the same thing. I'm going to pull myself into the foot, lift this heel, pull myself forwards, lift this heel, pull myself back. So I'm just doing a few rounds in different foot positions and just feeling it. This foot is facing the corner, so it's not the same as when it's facing the front. And then just bring the foot back up to here. And now just step out to the side. And now it's just the posture that we started with. And lifting my heel to pull, start the pull. Now, so this heel has to have grabbed its ground before this one can come up. And then just bring the foot up again. And now just step forwards like this, like we're going to do punch in the form. And again, I'm moving backwards and forwards by lifting the heel. This heel comes up, pulls me forwards, then the back heel can come up and pull me back. And then just lifting the foot up and stepping right behind the other one. So it's the same thing really, but they all feel quite different. And then just stepping up. And now let's try a few with the other foot. So into this foot, this one steps, and then I pull myself into it, lift this heel. So what's moving me is the spirit in the knee that's pulling the heel off the ground. And that starts the leg bending, which starts me moving into it. And then just stepping back. And again, I go into this heel. This one can come up. Yeah, so this one's strange because the front foot is pointing to the corner. I just do enough rounds so that it doesn't feel quite so strange. Bring this foot up and then just stepping to the side. Stepping forwards with this foot now. And then just stepping behind that foot. Using the rising heel to start yourself moving. As I settle into one heel, it forces the other one to come up because I'm only allowed to have one heel on the ground at a time. So working the legs like that by lifting the heel, stretching and letting them pull. So we're stretching the legs in order to force it to pull back. This is the correct sort of tension. We don't want the tension that we house to be a block. It's not blocking energy and it's not chronic. It's not just pulling into itself because it can't release. It's a tensile. It's the real use of the word tension. It just means stretching. So when you stretch a piece of elastic, it becomes tense, but it can also do work. If I release, it will pull back. This is the sense I want with my own body. And using the legs with this sort of prowling, pulling energy will really elastify the body. What the Chinese are always after. They're always after things that will keep them young. So they're not interested in longevity so much as rejuvenation. So the image they use is the young sapling that's so full of juice and youth that it can just bend and twist in the wind. And then the image of stiff age is just the big solid tree that just gets blown down in a storm because it can't yield. So our key activity all the time in Tai Chi is yielding. Everything comes down to that. And to yield, you have to be soft. Softness is just like really friendly, just a friendly countenance. For me, it's St. Francis. St. Francis, all the animals and all the children, they just naturally were drawn to him because he was soft. This is the sense that we want. your softness, your presence, your ability to be soft means that you presence into the world. You're no longer an object or a subject. You're a bleeding, seeping entity that's constantly communing with the world. And that encourages the other things in your environment to do the same. So only when you become soft does the world around you have a chance of becoming soft. And then there's real communion rather than communication. You're not talking to things, but there's seepage going on all the time. Now let's just bring the foot up. And again, it's this feeling of this wriggly figure of eight. See, the closer you have your feet together, the more these two sides of your body will coil around each other. The whole idea of meditation is that you slowly become quiet inside so that you can come into your presence, into your being. Whilst you're noisy and thinking to yourself, you're not actually present. And you're not in the fullness of your being. So we want that inner quiet. This is why, when it becomes quiet inside, everything just becomes active, because being is supremely active. So this is the center of my beingness, if you like. This is the center of my spirit. So my aliveness, that sort of the desire in me that wants to do things, to be active, to stop being quite so still and lazy. And then this just becomes the great cloud of unknowing. It's like a mist, and nothing can be known. Nothing of this world can be known. And the more you try to use words to define it, the further away it gets from you. Being is sacred, is holy, is divine, it's of God. God is just being, but it takes a lot of work to just be without all of this other extraneous activity that we're so accustomed to.